Welcome to the 3 Knockdown Rule. Starring Mario Lopez and Steve Kim. Presented by Hustler Casino.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 Knockdown Rule brought to you by Hustler Casino with Steve Kim and joined by our Mr. Irrelevant, Mario Lopez.
What a dick. What's with that moniker right there? Thanks a lot. Having to do with the draft, I'm assuming. We'll see. Shout out to Smoking Tim Frazier. Lot to talk about.
Yeah, the bout sheet for this week's show, Eubank Benn, an Insta Classic, then it's Boxing Palooza. 2025 coming up this weekend. We have Ask Mario and Final Flurries, but we want to let you know this podcast is sponsored by Hustler Casino, LA's one and only luxury casino experience. Are you a poker fan? Then listen up. On Monday, May 5th, Hustler Casino is turning up the heat with a special edition of Max Payne Monday. Be a star. This is your chance to get staked $5,000 and play under the bright lights on the award-winning Hustler Casino live stream, the biggest stage in poker. Think you've got what it takes? Come out, show your skills, and you just might become the next big poker legend. Only at Hustler Casino, where the action never stops.
Round one.
Right, we begin round number 1, and it was a family feud in the UK at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Chris Eubank with a unanimous decision over Conor Benn, 116-112 across the board. But Mario, I don't think the scores really tell the full story of what a fight this was.
Can I tell you something? I loved every minute of this whole night, from the arrival to the stadium to the ring walks to, of course, the fight itself, to the round of the year, the 12th, to the post-fight hugs with their fathers, to the energy in the crowd. Man, the UK knows how to put on a production. It was awesome. Bravo. Rarely do you see a fight live up to the hype and expectations. And I had friends that were actually there, and they do, in fact, say there was 70,000 people there. It felt like even more. And people were just couldn't stop talking about it, and it really, really delivered. I have so many thoughts, because when I saw both fighters face each other in the ring, and I even called you immediately after, my first thought was, damn, Eubanks looks so much bigger, significantly bigger than Benn. I said, this, in incredible shape. I said, this looks like it might be a short night right here, but was I wrong? Benn came to fight. And I like it because he throws that right hand just like his dad, was throwing it, was catching him, buzzed him a few times. That little counter right that he throws, bad intentions. Credit to him, because he did not fade. As hard as he was throwing all his shots and winding up in all his shots, I was so surprised that he seemed to have the same amount of energy and power behind his shots, even going into the 12th round. What a well-conditioned young guy. And Eubanks, to his credit, I know he almost killed himself trying to make that weight. He seemed to find another gear in the middle round, settle down when the adrenaline maybe simmered a little bit, started boxing, had some moments, but then again, Benn came back. I think it was around the 10th, hurt him again, and then that 12th was back and forth. Just an awesome fight, nonstop. I was watching it with a buddy of mine, and we just couldn't get over how they were trading at such a high level consistently for so long, is what you want to see in these fights. And at the end, if there was ever a draw that I feel it should have been given, was this fight. I really would have liked to have seen a draw. In breaking it down, and maybe I was grading on a curve because Benn did look significantly smaller to me, that Eubanks did win maybe 7-5, I guess. Again, I would have personally liked it more of a 6-6, but because of the size difference, again, maybe I was grading on a curve, and it seemed he had buzzed him a little bit more. And when Benn did get touched, he didn't wear it as negatively as Eubanks did, but a very close fight. That I don't have a problem with the way I don't have a problem that Eubanks was the winner. There's obviously talk about a rematch. You saw Turkey up and out of his seat towards the end. So I was really happy that it delivered, and it was just a great night for boxing in general.
Thus far, I think it's the fight of the year.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to hear that it's between two B-level guys.
It's a fight of the year. It's not the fight of what does that mean?
I mean, if the prerequisite is that you got to have two elite fighters, guess what? And then you wouldn't have a lot of candidates. And the reality is Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti,
That's exactly
guess
what I was
what?
just gonna use.
They were never on pound for pound
No,
list.
you're exactly
now,
right.
in terms of the passion, the fire, the feeling, the emotion, it was incredible drama. I mean, obviously, British fans will have more invested into this than we would. But coming into after the 10th round, I was like, wow, this is really over-delivered. And the way Conor Benn got to that finish line, he was weebling, he was wobbling, but he never fell down, and he was still dangerous. I actually thought Benn, as he looks back at this fight, I think he's going to say two things. Number one, I needed to go to the body a little bit more. And on the inside, do not allow yourself to be clinched. Those left hooks to the body, I think, had a home. Don't think he did that enough.
I agree.
My belief is I thought he was actually better off at times counterpunching instead of leaping with those right hands.
You're exactly right. When he did the little shoulder roll
Yes.
on the counter, he was catching him all that time. A couple of times he did catch him and buzz him, so I can see when especially there's animosity there and a lot to prove in the audience. I can see after you land a couple you want to go to it, but you're right. I think he would have had a lot more success had he countered with the right and gone to the body a little bit more.
Sometimes when you counterpunch and you let your opponent initiate, you know what you do? You let them do all the work for you. Being the shorter guy, and Chris Eubank has pretty good feet, knows how to move, seemed to be pretty evasive at times because he is athletic. Let the guy close the gap for you. That means you plant your feet, you get on the back foot, and you time a guy. Now, easier said than done, especially against a taller opponent. I have a question about the rematch. I know that there's a clause, but the devil is in the details. For this particular fight, it was a 160-pound weight limit with a 10-pound morning of rehydration second-day weigh-in. I want to know if anything changes, because I didn't realize this. Chris Eubank Jr. is 35. This fight took a little bit out of both guys. Does he really want to go through this again?
I think financially it's the best thing that could have ever happened to him. So yes is the answer. How heavy did he come in the day before?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows? Dude, I
They
gotta
didn't
say,
tell us.
He looked huge in there. And I know we discussed and you had no idea as well, but he looked so big. He looked 2 weight classes above. And I was talking to some guys this morning at the gym, and it's like, yeah, and that's why I think it was so impressive with Benn. I wouldn't agree to anything other than what was already agreed upon in the first fight, because then I think it gets really, really dangerous for Benn if they were to, let's say, do a catch weight.
Not the guy that nearly looked like a prisoner of war during the weigh-ins?
Kim, I no, but you can't. But then why even fight? Because it's like, why you're having like a lightweight fight, a middleweight. Then why even fight? I think you have to. If he wants the rematch, I'd sort of force that to be the case, or else it's not even going to be fair in my mind.
In round 12, I think it's going to be very difficult to displace that as the round of the year. When you look at the drama and the way that it unfolded, both guys understanding we have very little left in the tank, they emptied the bucket. It was a fight.
Close.
I don't overthink these things. I mean, Mario, when we spend time hanging out, that's one of those fights will be like, hey, there's nothing on TV. Let's go to Eubank Benn. Immediately. That to me is the highest compliment you can give a fight. And by the way, Ring TV in Turkey, they have already put the fight on YouTube. So if you haven't caught it, give them a click, drop a like, and I think you're going to find out that was one hell of a battle. And Mario, coming into this fight, the most hard-boiled cynic would say you are exploiting the Eubank-Benn rivalry and the legacy. Credit to these younger men. They added to it.
Absolutely. I think they elevated it, made their fathers proud.
Yes.
And that was, being a father myself, too, it was sort of an emotional, poignant moment seeing them hug their sons for such a long time, and there were no losers really that night because Benn's stock I thought rose, and both men should hold their head up high.
Moving on, round 1, 3 knockdown rule brought to you by Hustler Casino. Times Square, New York City on the Zone pay-per-view. It's Fatal Flurry, your lineup. For the WBA regular welterweight title, Ryan Garcia takes on Rolly Romero. Welterweight action, Devin Haney takes on Jose Ramirez. And the WBO junior welterweight champion of the world, and really the Ring Magazine 140-pound champion, Teofimo Lopez takes on his WBO mandatory Arnold Barboza. Mario, out of these three, which fight intrigues you the most?
Teofimo and Arnold Barboza. Intrigues me the most. I think Barboza is going in very confident. He looked great in his last fight, beating a tough competitor. Teofimo, you know how high I am on him as far as just natural talent, but you don't know what you're going to get sometimes. Hence, that's why I'm intrigued. I think Haney, Ramirez, Haney's going to have that would be the second, a very close second, because I think Haney's also got a lot to prove. Ramirez is tailor-made for him stylistic-wise, but you never know. And I think with Raleigh and Ryan, who looks a lot more disciplined, we haven't seen a lot of his colorful antics leading up to this fight. And he's coming across a lot more humble. But and he, should he box, I think have a very successful night. However, Raleigh it can crack, and he's a heavy-handed guy. And if he were to get into a slugfest, you sort of never know. So I like all these fights a lot.
Going by the odds, it is clear Lopez Barboza is by far the best fight. It's 2.5 to 1. Devin Haney, according to my guy Fight Coast, a.k.a. JP in real life, says that's 12 to 1. Here's what's alarming about Ramirez. He looks like a fighter whose pilot light has flickered for a while, and I looked up his record. You know the last time he really looked good at the world-class level was Maurice Hooker. Mario, that was 2019. Since that point, he's either been inactive, dropping out of purse bids, turning down fights, and then beating guys he should, and then he lost to Arnold Barboza in a relatively muted performance last November.
What weight is the Haney fight?
They're both welterweight, the top two.
So it is at a welterweight limit. Yeah, you know, it's a combination of we're going to see where he's at psychologically, too, because if for some reason Ramirez takes advantage and really puts the heat on him, we'll see how he reacts. But then again, he looked a little long in the tooth and battle tested. So.
Is this Fernando Vargas post-Trinidad, where the body was sort of willing, the spirit was willing, but I remember when Trinidad knocks out Vargas in one of the best fights of the 2000s, right? And you're thinking, man, what heart on Fernando. So Fernando takes a break, and they pair him up against Wilfredo Rivera. And it was really done because Rivera was known. He had almost beat Shane Mosley, but he's a light-hitting guy. And they put it on a Boxing After Dark, and I believe it was in El Paso. Then all of a sudden, early in that fight, the supposedly light-hitting Puerto Rican, and down goes Fernando, and you're like, uh-oh, he's not the same guy. Not the same guy. And that's the major concern about Devin Haney is we don't know what version of him really exists in 2025. Also, Ryan Garcia, this is his first outing since April 20th of last year in the light of the failed VADA drug test. I believe that if Ryan Garcia is relatively the same guy that we've seen for years, he's much too good, powerful, fast, and strong for Rolly Romero. Does Romero have a puncher's chance because he has heavy hands? Yeah, I guess. But here's the reality. I don't think he's that good. And they're trying to preserve the rematch between Garcia and Haney. So what do we like to say here? There's a reason why they chose this guy. Now, Teofimo Lopez, we keep saying he's up and down. Mario, last year he was just down against Jermaine Ortiz and then Steve Claggett. Be honest, did he really look like an elite top 10 pound-for-pound fighter?
No, but we discussed this. For some reason, he raises himself to the level of his competition or lowers himself. So I don't know what that means for the Barboza fight. So you don't know what you're going to get. But I never count out a guy that beat Lomachenko at his peak and Taylor. So None of those other guys we discussed have faced that level of competition, so he's got the most impressive resume, in my mind. Don't you agree?
Yeah, and I know Barboza he wants this fight. He spent all of this camp basically in Big Bear. He absolutely hates Teofimo Lopez. He feels disrespected. He feels like he was ducked. And look, he now has wins over Ramirez, a faded version. But to beat Jack Catterall in Britain,
that's serious.
That's a battle-tested guy. And his style
confidence is high.
And his style of being able to box and move, Teofimo doesn't deal. What does Teofimo do well? Counterpunch, running guys into blind shots. Barboza, he boxes disciplined enough. There could be a lot of boring, close rounds, and you see what happens. Against Kambosos, Teofimo ran into something early, okay?
Maybe it was just a rumor, but would Ryan be the mandatory for Boots if he wins this fight?
In theory, because it's the WBA regular. Right. Okay, so that basically means that you're the mandatory, but until the BA says you're mandated, you're just another guy with the belt.
Got it.
But Boots against Ryan, that's a very interesting fight.
Won't happen before, assuming Haney is victorious, won't happen before that fight. But yeah, that is an interesting fight.
All right, well, that's it for round number 1. We'll be back more of the 3 Knockdown Rule brought to you by Hustler Casino.
Catch the streaming live right on YouTube.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
$1.2 million.
And I'm losing in this fucking game. What the fuck?
There's a 400K flip. If I win by the way, you get 10 grand.
Fucking straddle!
For my fans!
What? I read it twice!
Wow. All in a call.
I'm not fucking leaving!
Raise it up.
Back on the 3 Knockdown Rule brought to you by Hustler Casino. Hey, are you looking to get involved with 3KR and sponsor our show? We have some spots available. Please email info@boxbid.io. Once again, that's info@boxbid.io. Boxbid is an online platform that helps professional boxers connect with their fans by providing exclusive Fight Week merchandise, memorabilia, and sponsorships. You can even buy a shout-out on boxbid.io. Boxbid handles our sponsorships, and we are proudly working with boxbid.io.
Review preview.
All right, we go over Saturday, Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, from the venue, from the undisputed super middleweight championship of the world. Saul Alvarez takes on William Skull and Crossbones, the IBF belt holder. Mario, what do you think the odds are on this fight?
Well, I sent you some stuff on social media where I don't know if they're just trying to hype up the fight, that Skull looking like an AI ripped fighter and they're underestimating him and he's gonna be in position to pull a major upset. And I'm like, oh, bro, am I not seeing something? And you're like, nah. Anything can happen in there. But one thing about Canelo is he never takes anyone lightly. He's the consummate professional and he's well prepared. And I think the odds are what the bookmakers say they are, and they're legitimate. What is it up to now?
50-1.
Well, there you go.
So, in other words, if Skull should pull the upset, it would be considered bigger by numbers than Douglas Tyson.
Now, I sent you those things, though, right? Remember those? Maybe they were just that, but it made it interesting.
All right. Skull might win the weigh-in. He might win the photo shoot. He ain't winning the fight.
Cold as ice.
I will go this far. Not only will Skull not win this fight, I give him less than a scintilla's chance that if this fight goes more than 6 rounds, I believe it's evidence that either Saul Alvarez carried him, didn't take it seriously, or he's slipping. Like Shedeur Sanders in the NFL draft. This fight is an absolute blowout. And take this in mind. John Ryder, Jermel Charlo, Jaime Munguia, Edgar Berlanga have all been the last few opponents of Saul Alvarez. I believe this guy is by far the worst of that group.
Yeah, I agree with that. But at the same time, you mentioned carrying him. I think Canelo, knowing that the inevitable fight with Crawford is down the line, might want to get some few rounds in because it's been a while since we've seen Crawford. He likes to stay sharp. He likes to see live bullets. I think it would behoove him come September. So I think this is still great, even though the level of competition, I think it's still great for Canelo. I wish Crawford would have took a fight prior.
Yeah.
But I know you don't want to risk that big payday.
Well, it's great for Canelo's bank.
Well, yeah, of course.
I mean, his bank account is bulging right now. But I don't know. Look.
Would you rather him not have faced anybody and just faced Crawford?
Not anybody, just somebody different. I think William Skull is one of the lesser belt holders in the world today. But again, it is evidence when I say belts matter. William Skull, without this IBF title, would not be getting this payday. That is the reality.
Yes. Listen, you got to be decent to get a belt at some point, Kim. Come on, let's be honest.
Also on this undercard, Jaime Munguia tries to get revenge against Bruno Sarase in heavyweight battle. The dad bod, Martin Bakole, he returns against Efe Ajagbe. That might be a fun fight. Mario, is there any way that Sarase lands another, I don't want to say lucky punch, but a miracle shot?
I don't think it was a miracle shot. I saw that fight and I remember, and he was very well prepared, and he was setting traps and he caught him with that shot. I think he's going to be even more confident. I think it's very possible. Look, I love me some Jaime Munguia, but he better change it up and utilize that jab a little bit more and attack that body a little bit more and start to smother him, because when he was at that mid range, he was getting caught.
His first fight under the tutelage of Eddie Reynoso. A couple sources tell me that Eddie really likes Jaime as a pupil. Works very hard, listens, wants to get better. I think Munguia evens up the score here and shows that what happened back in December is an aberration. As for Bakole, Efe Ajagbe bombs away. I think it's going to be a fun fight. They are not going to need MapQuest to find one another.
Love it.
Inside that ring. Sunday night, I will be there in Las Vegas, making the drive down there from the T-Mobile Arena in Viva Las Vegas on ESPN. The undisputed junior featherweight champion of the world, the monster Inoue, takes on the relatively unknown Ramon Cardenas. And also on this card, WBO featherweight titleist and maybe a future opponent for Inoue, Rafael Espinoza takes on Edver Vasquez. Mario, I saw Inoue at the open workout at Westside Boxing last week. Now, look, it wasn't much of a workout. He did a round on the pads, did a round on the heavy bag. But being
Sure
up
kind of
close,
workout. You work out like
well,
that.
yeah,
One round
and
each.
so when he turned it up for about 30 seconds on the heavy bag, and it just looked different than even most professional prize fighters.
Pacquiao-esque?
Kind of, sort of. Although Pacquiao on the heavy bag was like a machine gun.
Yes, and they were all, because that's the most surprising.
And then his feet almost hover above the ground.
Yes,
I
haven't seen someone like that. I was curious. Is Inoue in that?
Well, Manny's pad work was always great. I was more impressed by his heavy bag work. And me and Brian Hardy, when we were at Max Boxing, we actually like filming his heavy bag work more than the mitt work.
You know what? You described it really well, because I didn't know how. You're right. He like hovers on the ground.
Right.
He like floats as he's
and
hitting.
he's just changing angles the whole time.
And those shots are all hard.
And he's going in and out.
Those shots are all hard. You're exactly right. That's impressive.
Like
Inoue's I haven't seen him, but I would imagine that's probably the closest, right?
I would say that in a way, maybe not quite as fast or as rapid in terms of throwing like 8-punch combinations in a split second.
Yeah.
But the power and the speed, that combo. And Mario, when he turns up and he turns over either the right hand or he locks out the left hook, the ability to create power literally in a 6-inch window is insane.
The best torque,
yes,
I think I've seen. Just that, the torque is incredible.
And this is so Japanese of him. Literally came right on time, straight from the airport. He gets right to work, and then he leaves, takes a private jet right back to Vegas. There's no shenanigans. The guy's a very serious guy. Keep this in mind. Rafael Espinoza, who towers over everybody at 126.
Love Espinoza.
I believe he's being lined up next year for Inoue.
Ooh, that's a good fight.
Yes, and I think that's his toughest matchup because that's about, what, 4 inches?
By the way, the toughest. Oh yeah, Inoue's toughest matchup. Yes, Inoue's toughest, and Rafa's.
Yes.
Both of theirs their toughest matchup. I don't, not to deviate real quick, but before I forget, because my ADD will kick in there, bro. Is Pacquiao really fighting?
Well, we'll get to that later.
Are we gonna get?
We'll get to that later. Yeah. And Mario also on this card, and he was at that workout. Emiliano Vargas, we've been high on him.
Oh, he was at that workout?
Comes straight out of Central Casting with the look. Mario, his body, though, you know when we talk about the man strength? It hit him.
Really?
He is noticeably muscular
Nice.
and ripped. And I'm just looking at him saying, you're not the same kid that you were 2 years ago.
Nice.
You are now a burgeoning, bulging young man. And he still retains the speed and just the way he deals with people. And I said to someone at
I like
Top
this
Rank,
kid.
if this guy doesn't go crazy, you guys can print money with him. He just looks straight out of Central Casting. He's on this undercard.
Really like that kid. Is a welterweight or junior?
He's a lightweight who will soon be at 40 and 47.
Yeah, wow. Because he is a pretty big kid for lightweight.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And keep this in mind, he's still in his early 20s. Now, programming reminder, this is on a Sunday night on ESPN, and it was explained to me by Todd DeBuff, because a lot of people have talked about why Sunday. A couple things.
Well, you got Friday and Saturday.
They did not want to interfere, even if he's in Saudi Arabia with Canelo. Then ESPN said, well, wait a minute. Why don't we dovetail this with the Dodger game? You know who's playing before the fight? Shohei Ohtani. So that's a natural dovetail.
Beautiful. I'm going to watch the Dodgers game. This whole weekend's awesome.
And there better not be an extra inning game. Let's have a nice, tight...
Can you imagine?
Oh,
Can you imagine
my
if it
goodness.
goes? So wait a minute. Hold on a second. Because I was at the longest game in history.
I know.
So in all seriousness, if that were to happen, do they delay the fight?
No, this is what they'll delay it a little bit, but after a certain amount of time, this is what they've done. If you have ESPN News or you have the ESPN app, switch over there because they used to do that a lot.
Yeah.
So what we need is a Greg Maddux 1 hour, 45-minute special.
There you go.
So, and then the other thing was the hotel, the MGM Grand, who was the host casino, they don't mind the people having to stay another day on that particular weekend.
Yeah.
And for
very
me,
smart. I thought it was very smart the way they did
so
that.
it's interesting. The ticket sales have not gone well. They overpriced them a little bit. I will be going out there because, quite frankly, this could still be the last chance for American stateside fans to see the monster in person. All right.
And you're also due for a taco or Del Taco visit.
In Barstow, though. Yeah. In Barstow. That is the Mecca. All right, we go to the Mystic Zack pick of the week on the 3 Knockdown Rule.
Get ready for Zack's pick of the week here on the 3 Knockdown Rule podcast.
What's up, guys? Mystic Zack here, back to make some more fight predictions for the 3 Knockdown Rule podcast. We're heading to Times Square, New York. The first fight, Arnold Barboza Jr. taking on Teofimo Lopez. For this fight, I got a behind-the-scenes look at Teofimo Lopez's training camp. I've got him over Arnold Barboza Jr. The next fight, Devin Haney versus Jose Ramirez. Devin Haney, of course, suffered a defeat that was then overturned to Ryan Garcia, his previous fight. He was knocked down, he was battered, he was bruised. But in the lead up to this fight, he seems very focused, very determined. He's in tremendous shape. I expect him to pick up the victory here. The main event, Ryan Garcia taking on Rolly Romero. I've got Ryan here, and don't be surprised if he knocks him out. The next two fights, Canelo Alvarez taking on William Skull in Saudi Arabia. No surprise here, but I've got Canelo. He's a massive favorite here for a reason. I think it sets up the Crawford fight in September perfectly. The final fight, Inoue taking on Ramon Cardenas. I've got Inoue, one of the absolute best fighters in the world. Those are my 5 picks for this weekend. But if you really want to get the best value, my favorite pick is Teofimo Lopez at almost pick-em odds against Arnold Barboza Jr. to win by decision. I think that's a really solid bet. Those are my fight picks for this week's 3 Knockdown Rule podcast.
News and notes.
And we're back on the 3 Knockdown Rule. Yeah, a lot of helter-skelter weight. A lot of stuff going on at 147, and we got to go right off the top. Mario Barrios, the WBC champion at 147, it's being reported that he could be fighting a guy that we thought had been retired, was going on to the next stage of his life, and as you alluded to, Mario, the return of the legendary Pac-Man.
When we just were talking about him hitting the heavy bag and looking like he's hovering on the ground and the 8 punches a second, unfortunately, because of Father Time, that's not the Pac-Man we're going to be seeing these days. It breaks my heart because to me, Pac-Man is on, I should say, my Mount Rushmore of fighters during my generation. He really is because of everything he's accomplished, the way he has. You know, so to see him at this stage, he's got to be, 46?
Yes.
46, bro, which I love. I always love seeing older guys, but in combat sports, it's a whole nother thing. I just don't want to see him get hurt. Is there? And I know he was so generous, and clearly it's a money play. I didn't know financially it was in that dire straits, but yeah, I'm not excited about it. I don't want him to get hurt, and I like to that we could possibly be seeing Ali, Trevor Berbick, and I don't want that to happen.
Or Larry Holmes,
Right.
which is even worse. Here's the issue, and I know people are going to say, well, George Foreman was 45, 46.
Heavyweights are different.
But here's nothing. He never really retired. From 1987 to 1994, even though there were some long breaks, he never took 4 years off. I mean, this is how fast time flies. When he fought Yordenis Ugas, that was 2021.
Bro, it doesn't even feel like that, though. Just time. Yes. Your hair was black back then.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It was
Look
black
at
as
that.
of 14 months ago.
Yeah, it's before your Kenny Rogers look.
But he looked like a fighter. I don't want to say completely shot, but it felt like, you know what, that last great fight that every premier boxer has in his back pocket, that was the Keith Thurman fight. And Mario.
That was it.
That was
great
2019.
way. 2019. I know. What a beautiful way to if he could have ended his career like that. But yeah. That breaks my heart.
And Mario Barrios, let's be honest. Is it Tommy Hearns? Is it Donald Curry? Is it Ray Leonard? No. But he's still the much younger fighter.
Yes, very live guy. Exactly.
I don't know. And then also WBA welterweight champion Brian Norman. He'll be going to the land of the rising sun, Big Yen. Big Yen out there to fight Jin Sasaki. So with that being said, Jaron Boots Ennis, any talk of him unifying further or becoming undisputed has to be tabled. And word is that Ennis has to fulfill his WBA mandatory against Shakram Giasov, which is actually a pretty solid fight. Look for that to happen late summer back in the city of brotherly love. Moving on. Okay, Ask Mario. Here's one from Joel. Guys, given the excellent run of Daniel Dubois is on, do you give him much of a shot in the rematch with Usyk, which has been officially announced for June 19th in England?
Listen, especially with heavyweights, you're always a live dog, and Dubois has been looking good and is riding high. Young, strong fighter, big kid. Obviously, they had a little controversy in that last fight, but with that said, no. Because Usyk still, who many people, and myself included, have number one pound for pound, until he shows me any sort of signs of slippage or rust, my guy is looking pretty unbeatable right now at heavyweight. Do you?
If you go back to that last fight, look, Dubois had some moments, and I know some will argue he should have been the champion that night. The rest of that fight was controlled.
And he stopped him.
And he stopped him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't like he made it to the end. It was controversial. He ended up stopping him. Had he been hurt, legal or not, he should have been able to close the show, correct?
But does Dubois have a shot? He has a real legitimate puncher's chance.
Of course I said shot.
Because he's got his confidence and he can bang. He's still the bigger man. I love the fact this is going to be in England. This is going to be one of those fights that has 75, 80, 90, 100,000 people. But you know what? Usyk has been there and done that. He's the greatest road warrior since Mel Gibson. That stuff does not impact him at all.
That was good. Hey, is there a date set?
July 19th.
Yeah.
July 19th might be busy because that could be the Pacquiao-Barrios fight. There, I believe Top Rank might have a show.
Oh, wow.
And then we're talking about the heavyweight show. So mark your calendars.
Spread the love.
Yes, here's one from Foghorn Leghorn. Which of the
pay
six...
attention when you're talking.
Hey, come on now. Hey, boy. Now. Anyway, which of the six fighters has the most to gain and lose in the Fatal Fury card? And if Skull pulls off a major upset, would it end Canelo Crawford, or does the show continue?
Good questions. As far as who has the most to lose, I would say if Devin Haney loses yet again, he would probably, on the heels of that, have the most to lose because he has the biggest payday to gain with the rematch looming. If Canelo were to lose, depends how he loses. Let's say he got hurt. I'm just completely making up a scenario. If he got hurt and maybe try to gut it out, but then Skull stunk out the joint, then yeah, you can blame it on he got hurt. But if he got thoroughly beat up or KO'd, then yeah, if he throws a monkey wrench in, I'd be off.
And guys, I'm going to tell you this right now. He's not losing. Anyway, here's one from David.
Hey, dude.
At the Ben Eubank presser, Ring Magazine's Rick Reno called out Matchroom/Boxer. He said their cards are normally garbage and that card is a credit to Ring only. When asked about it, Eddie Hearn said he was pissed. Mario, have you ever seen anything like it? Your thoughts? Yeah, last week at the press conference, Rick Reno, my old friend, used to own Boxing Scene, now works with Turkey. He threw people all up under the bus and then backed it over with the reverse gear and then went back again. I think he made a good point in a sense that a lot of these shows where a promoter has an exclusive output deal with the network, you know one thing that there is no more of in boxing? Quality control. And to be fair, it's not just Matchroom and The Zone. I believe every single network, they need a Lou DiBella circa 1993 to 1999 who says, no, you're not doing that to us. Bring something better.
I agree.
And yeah, you should have seen how uncomfortable it got on stage because I'm like, and it was funny. Someone said, did he call out Eddie Hearn? And when Rick did his own version of a British accent and used the word mate, I said, yeah, I think that was shots fired over there at Sir Eddie of Matchroom. Here's one from the only Sanch. Ask that tequila baron, Mario Lopez Extra. Would he make the trip to London for Canelo versus Eubank Jr., since that's now a huge possibility in 2026?
Wow, Canelo just keeps winning as far as potential big
He's
matchups
the ATM of boxing.
He really is. Yes is the answer. I would love to make the trip out there for that. That would be
100,000. Any stadium.
Yeah, any stadium. That would be one worth making the trip for. I'm hesitating because I'm thinking what other possibilities could disrupt that, because I don't think he's going to 75 to Fate.
Terrence Crawford.
Well, you're correct. If Crawford would have, then that would throw the monkey wrench in it.
Right.
Correct. But assuming he is victorious, yeah, I think that's probably the next best fight that could be made, right? I mean, other than Benavidez, he's not going there, wouldn't you say?
Unless you...
Financially.
Financially, yes. And you want to talk about creating an event. Keep this in mind about Chris Eubank. He's never been a world champion, but he's been a top 10 middleweight/super middleweight for a while. Now, I know certain people still have harsh feelings. Remember, Tom Loeffler thought he had the deal for Gennady Golovkin to fight Eubank, and guess what happened? Someone said he lost his pen. For this fight, the payday he'd get against Golovkin,
he's fighting that pen.
He'd get the BIC. He'd get the paper mate. Yes, he'd absolutely sign on the dotted line. Here's one from Ryan Longer. Guys, any word on Mayweather Promotions? Seems to be a little lackluster as of late.
Well, hold on. Rewind a little bit. He got into, and I don't know if it was just social media rumors or what have you, there was some real estate buzz that was amiss.
Oh, really?
Right?
Really?
And so I don't know if that's in correlation to the promotions and everything's just in sort of disarray. He was in here not too long ago. We actually had him in the radio show. He was in good spirits. He was actually very nice. We had a nice conversation. He's into supplements now. He's into supplements. He's putting his face on supplements. And
Pretty Boy Protein.
There you go.
Gets you swole.
No, Money Protein.
Yeah.
Long ago it was fair. And he seemed to think everything was well. So I don't know. I'm just going by what he said.
Turns out, again, I'm just an outside observer. He's like that guy who claims he has Park Place and Boardwalk. He may not even have Oriental or Baltic Avenue. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Why does it got to be Oriental?
Stop Asian hate. And the other thing is, in terms of Mayweather Promotions, I would equate that to Montgomery Ward, Sears, Kmart, and Blockbuster Video.
Those are classics.
They are classics, but they are no longer presently in business.
Wow.
That's what I think of Mayweather Promotions. And here's a question for you specifically, and answer as honestly as you can. Which one of Kim's boxing impersonations, Don King or Bob Arum or Manny Pacquiao, the Philippines, is your favorite?
They're all terrible.
What?
They're all terrible.
Only in America. Come on now, Lopez. Now.
No. If I had to pick gun to head, I would say...
Come on, it's got to be Bob.
I would say Bob.
Yeah,
I would
come
say
on
Bob.
now. That's a good one. Even top-rank employees say, that's good. Oh, I only do my Filipino impersonation for the people. I got to talk to Freddie. Yeah, I know.
That's not as strong.
Moving on.
Final flurries.
Final flurries. Mario, I had no idea. Maybe it's because of your association with your neighbor. You actually give a damn about the Kentucky Derby?
I give a damn about horse racing in general. It is a great
Really?
time in
Boy,
Kentucky.
you love these dead sports.
Hey, there was a point when horse racing and boxing were the biggest things in America, and much like boxing, horse racing will never die. Horse racing is the most expensive sport in the world.
Right.
In the world. Closely followed by Formula One racing, but Bob Baffert, the face of racing, does happen to be my neighbor. Great, great guy. He's coming back to the Derby after a couple-year hiatus, and more on that later. The stories I hear with these Saudi princes and their horses and the people and the studying fees, and you go to a racetrack, Kim, and I've invited you, and it's such a good time, and you see all of society there. The degenerate gambler who doesn't pay his rent because he's betting it on the thing, the mush,
yeah.
to the guy in the suite that is the Fortune 500 CEO that is betting $100,000 a race over. You just see the full gamut, and it really is the most exciting 2 minutes in sports. The Kentucky Derby is part of the Triple Crown with the Preakness and the Breeders' Cup, but it's sort of the big daddy. It is now more expensive officially than the Super Bowl as far as tickets and to get out there. I was actually going to go, and I've gone a few times. It's such a good time, man, with the mint juleps flowing. It is so much fun. But I've got so much going on. I'm going to be in New York and Orlando and stuff. I've decided to kind of stay in town. But you got to tune in. And it's always the first weekend of May, and there's always a fight. But when you tune into that particular main event, because there's a bunch of races, but the main event race right there's 20 horses. It's exciting, man. It's exciting, especially if you bet. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
For me, I watch it maybe once a year, anytime that a horse wins the first two legs of the Triple Crown. I remember Smarty Jones years ago.
Yeah, very good. Baffert's won two Triple Crowns. You know how hard that is?
And that's the issue that I think I don't think people really watch horse racing all the time, do they?
No,
Breeders' Cup, they'll watch it. They'll watch that.
They'll watch
Preakness. No. They will watch the Kentucky Derby.
That's number one.
And then whoever wins it, if that horse wins that second leg, now that third becomes big.
Big, huge.
But if it's another horse, no one cares.
So people still watch. It's on NBC. It's primetime coverage. People still watch. But it's one of those sports that when you're there in person, it is so much fun because it's a big party. It's a big party. You got to come with me. We're spoiled because Santa Anita's a great track. It's a great track. You got to go. You'll love it, dude. It's fun.
Maybe. Mario.
You don't like to leave your house, dude. If you actually like to socialize, it's so much fun.
Yeah, like I said, I'll take your word for it. NFL draft. Before we get started,
humbug.
I just want to congratulate Cam Ward. Number one, by far, with the bullet. There was no debate. Great job,
Did you
Cam.
see that coming? Was that the consensus?
I see it coming. Come on, Ray Charles could see that.
Was that the general consensus? I don't know. Was it?
Wasn't even close.
Really?
Runaway winner.
Nice.
Number one, numero uno. Gonna lead the Titans to great things. But just a congratulations to Cam Ward. I know he got snubbed during the coverage. There was another quarterback who took the oxygen out of that room. But Cam Ward, number one.
What's your take on why he fell so much? Was it a combination of...
You mean Shedeur Sanders?
Correct. Who else? Of course. Yeah. Was it a combination of they felt his skills just wouldn't translate to the pro level? They just didn't want to deal with his dad. He did have bad interviews, and he felt a little bit entitled. Was it all of the above? Because his teammates, correct me if I'm wrong, went number 2, right?
Travis Hunter. No issues with him. Generational talent.
So was the other...
Well, that's the thing, though. If he would have had Travis Hunter-like ability, he could have done all of that and still been a top 5 pick.
Right.
The reality is, if you're going to do all of that, you better be John Elway or Eli Manning.
Right.
Because you're only as good as your leverage. And the reality is, your leverage was not as good as you thought. The other thing is, it turns out, and these are from reputable guys, did you know more than one team said, he's off our board? Which means we're not drafting him at all. The other thing is, when your father says, well, there's certain teams we're not going to play for, they'll say, thank you, you're off our board.
Didn't the Manning say that as well, though? But he's not Peyton Manning.
They said one team.
Oh, one
They
team.
did not like San Diego specifically. Okay, and guess what San Diego did, though? Still selected him number 1, but because he was so highly thought of, that's how they got Phillip Rivers in a package. It wasn't just a straight swap.
Well, they didn't like San Diego because San Diego had that pick to get him, correct?
Right, and they didn't like the organization.
Right. Cold as ice.
Yeah, they just did not feel that was going to bring out the best.
Do you see him? Last question, because then I know we got to wrap it up. Do you see him getting any PT in Cleveland?
Well, they've got 5 quarterbacks.
Do they really?
Right now.
Who do they got? They got Flacco, I know.
Deshaun.
Oh, they still got Deshaun Foster?
Yeah,
wow.
They're stuck with that contract.
That's true. Okay, they got Flacco, they got Deshaun.
And they got the other draft choice, Dylan Gabriel.
Right.
And they have another guy, and then they have Shador. Now, there's a chance one of these guys may not be there, but if you talk to anyone that's played football at that level, there's not enough reps. Basically, your 5th quarterback is a camp arm. In other words, you just throw the guys.
So he may not even make the team.
No, I think he will, but there's a theory. If you don't take a quarterback in the first round, that means you're looking for a starter, right? That means most teams in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are like, nah, we got to get other positions. That's in the other rounds is when you start getting, because you want your backup to be an anonymous,
right,
beige on the beige figure, beige spot on a beige wall.
Could they still potentially trade him?
Well, what's the market?
Yeah, well, I mean,
if you look at the Browns' reaction when they drafted him, you could tell the owner had his handprints all over that thing. They didn't want him. They really but they should be Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Cleveland Browns have got to be the Hard Knocks this summer.
Oh, that's right. That's good. That's
Mario,
good.
what is your highly recommended newest show?
Newest show. To wrap it up, you got to see, and I'm late to the game, unfortunately, American Primeval. I love me a Western.
What?
This is the most realistic one I've seen in a long time. Directed and created by our buddy Peter Berg, big boxing guy, owns Churchill Boxing. And I can't wait to see him next time. Because
what network?
Netflix.
Oh, okay.
American Primeval. Really good.
And I have a recommendation, and I got to tell you, I was kind of impressed. Temptation Island was not as bad as I thought.
Get out of my face now.
Very, very enthralling. Great drama. Good personality.
We got to go, Cam.
But anyway.
Say goodbye.
Anyway, that's it for this week's edition of the 3 Knockdown Rule. We just want to let you know, if you want to sponsor our show, send us an email at info@boxbid.io on behalf of Mario Lopez and Smoke and Tim Frazier. This has been the 3 Knockdown Rule, brought to you by Hustler Casino.